सबका हो गया एडजस्टमेंट? कोई ऐसा तो नहीं जिसको फोन नहीं मिला है? पार्टनर्स मिल गए एवरीबॉडी? अच्छा, जिसको अभी फैसिलिटी नहीं मिली है, जो समझते हैं मेरा फोन नहीं चल रहा या मैं नहीं सुन सकता है, नहीं, वो हाथ खड़े करें। सबका हो गया एडजस्टमेंट? So sister, please say some few words in Hindi so they can set to 105 frequency. अभी कुछ बोलेंगे, आप सेट कर लीजिए फ्रीक्वेंसी। सर से बोलेंगे, शुरू करेंगे। आ रहा है? साउंड आ रही है? आवाज आ रही है? ओके, शुरू करें। Should we start? Okay, fine.
Okay, friends. Today we will just have an overview of a branch of social psychology. Because all of us, most of the time, are in a social world, but the social world of a spiritually oriented person would be qualitatively different from a person who is materialistically oriented. So it is only in that background we thought some topics on this would be appropriate. And to understand what the field is all about, we just start about with the meaning of social psychology. But psychology is itself scientific in its orientation, and scientific field that seeks to know and understand individual behavior in social situations. Now, to know and understand, usually we think that both of them are the same. No. When you say to know, what it implies is that you get information about the other individual. So you are knowing the individual now. When you say understand, based on the information, you are making an inference or interpretation about the nature of the other individual. So, all our interactions are based on. So, if there is any fault in the information, and your interpretation of the individual would be wrong, and your interaction with the individual or with the social world will also be faulty in nature. So, that is why we say to know and understand individual behavior in social situation. Psychology focuses on. When the focus is on the group as a whole, then that becomes the province of sociology. So, individual behavior in social situation. I told you we are always in a social situation. What do we mean by a social situation? It refers to the actual presence of others or implied presence of others. Now, that may be a logical question, or a question which appears to be logical. Like when you understand individual behavior, don't you think we can understand his social behavior also? No. An individual, when he is in a social situation. Like for instance, when you come here to attend the classes for about 3 or 4 hours, you are able to sit in the chair. Whereas will you be doing the same thing at home in your bedroom? You won't be doing that. Why? It is a social situation where other people are present here. You are not supposed to, it is not appropriate to do that, so you don't do that. But at the same time here, this is a spiritual place where many of you fold both the legs and sit on the chair. But that won't be allowed in a college or school in a classroom. So that way, on the one side, actual presence. On the other side, implied presence. The person may not be physically present in front of you. Like except you, all the others have gone out. For about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, would you lie down on the sofa? You won't do that because anytime people may be here, implied presence. So the implied presence also influences our behavior. Like you interact with your friend, you go home, you sit in your room and then you recollect your interaction and you recollect a joke and you laugh. People at home would be looking at you as to what happened to you. But you are in a social world. Psychologically, you are with the other person right now, the company of the other person. So that is an implied presence. When you drive on the road, you are supposed to drive on the left-hand side, but when you drive on the right-hand side, you see a traffic constable at a distance, automatically you go to the left. Or when you have seen a traffic constable at a particular point every day, and today you have not seen him physically, but still you go to the left. Why? The implied presence of others. So that way, social psychology focuses on individual behavior in social situations. Now, what are the causes of social behavior? What influence our social behavior? The action and the characteristics of others. What others say and do. So, when your child gets angry at you or when your friend gets angry at you, then you say, why are you angry? But something that you have done has caused the anger in the other. Without looking at that, we always try to see the other person. You focus on the other side rather than focusing on your side. Like, you go to the railway station, but the train has to leave at 11 o'clock, you reach by 11:05, and the train has left on time. But what do you say? By the time he was there in the station, the train had left. As if the train had left early. You don't say, I was late. The same way, when you take a sweet, you like the sweet. But what do you say? The sweet is nice. The sweet is what it is. You don't say, I like the sweet. So that way, the way your focus actually changes the interpretation. So what the other person does and says actually influence our behavior. The other one, cognitive processes, your way of, when you say cognition. Because in psychology, there are two interrelated terms you would come across. One is perception, the other one is cognition. Cognition is said to be a higher mental process. So when you say it is a higher mental process, then naturally the question would be, what is a lower mental process? Lower mental process is perception. For perception to occur, the presence of the stimulus is required for your sense organ. Like you have not seen an apple earlier, you have not tasted an apple earlier. Without doing that, when I describe an apple, you will be able to repeat the words, but you may not know what exactly it is. On the other hand, I give you the apple. I tell you that this is an apple, you associate the object with the word. Then you touch the apple, you feel the texture. Then you smell the apple. Then you cut the apple, you see it inside, you taste the apple. Now, perception has happened because each sense organ provides one type of information which another sense organ cannot provide. So, when you experience it through all possible sense organs, ultimately your perception is likely to be more accurate. On the other hand, if you have only seen and touched, beyond that you have no idea. When I ask you to describe an apple, your description will be only based on the appearance as well as the texture. Beyond that, the smell you do not know, the taste you do not know, etc. And that is where again, like I'm coming to its relationship with spirituality. Spiritual orientation expands your consciousness. When it expands your consciousness, you become skilled in eliminating the distractions and taking in the right information. Like when there is a friend talking there, when there is your favorite TV program there, right now you have the apple and you are being concerned with that, well, you are able to eliminate them and then you are able to focus on this particular object or stimulus and gather all relevant information about that. When it is not there, that is where meditation helps you to concentrate, focus on the right thing, where you become skilled in eliminating all the distractions. That is where your quality of behavior becomes superior when you do that. And again, meditation is only a mental strategy that makes you skilled in dealing effectively with life situations. I would say, at least I don't agree that meditation itself automatically solves all your problems. That is not the case. It is an effort, it is a mental strategy which makes you skilled in dealing with life situations. So when I'm able to keep my mind still on a particular object, which generally it doesn't come, you may be able to explain to me better, in a better way about meditation. Because when you start meditation, when someone asks you to concentrate on a particular thing, you close your eyes and you try to concentrate, everything else except the object comes to your mind. Then as you practice it, then you become skilled in that. Then when you are able to keep your mind still on the object, you have become skilled in that aspect. Then later on, when you come across a problem, it may be a problem with your life partner, it may be a problem with your boss, etc. Then you are able to focus on the right thing and then you are able to do that. You know what is right, what is the right focus, etc. And you become skilled in that. That is where you become a skilled problem solver. But so far as my limited observation and knowledge goes, we have not made the spiritual science an applied oriented aspect. You are only taught to say this, close your eyes and say this mantra. And you are asked to focus on that. You focus on that. But whether you are able to apply it to real life situation, that depends on again your effort to apply the skill on other situations. So now that is perception. And that way a spiritual practice will help you to gather the correct appropriate information where your perception is likely to be accurate. Then the higher mental process is cognition. For cognition, the object need not be available for your sense organs. Already you have gathered the information. You use the information at the mental level. For instance, you have tasted apple. You have tasted ice cream also separately. You know they taste separately, but how they would taste when you put them together, you are not tasted, you had no experience. But on a summer day, you are sitting at home and all of a sudden the idea strikes that there is apple, there is ice cream also. Well, if I combine these two, well, the taste would be nice. Let me cut the apple, put it in the ice cream, mix it and eat, and then you enjoy that. That is cognition. Even before a sensory experience, when you are able to use the information for a higher level, that is called as cognition. And based on our experience, we tend to develop certain ways of interpreting people, situations, etc. That is called as cognitive process. Your way of interpreting. Well, when you interact with a person, one person says this fellow is a trustworthy person. Another person says, well, he is not trustworthy. Why is that? The person is the same. The object is the same. Why should there be a difference? The difference is in the way the other person processes and interprets information. So that is another one. The way you look at people, you interpret people's behavior is cognitive process. The next one is environmental variables. Physical environmental variable. When the environment is pleasant, then you are able to focus on the right thing. In the environment, say for example, if there is no AC, if there is no fan in this room and you are meant to attend the class at about 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, how would you be feeling? So naturally there would be distraction, you would not be able to focus and you would be uncomfortable, etc. So the environmental variables play an important role. Then the biological factors, your inherited factors, your appearance. And though we say that, well, you should not give importance to appearance. Well, logically that is right, but during the initial process of interaction, appearance plays an important role. When you go to a bookstore to buy a book, you don't start from one corner and take one book after the other. You just browse through whichever cover is attractive, you first take that book and then you browse through. An attractive book need not have good content, that's a different thing. But you feel that when the cover is designed so well, naturally the content also should be so well. Then you go through that. That's why when people are attractive and well-groomed and well-dressed, etc., you think that, well, they will be neat, they will be meticulous in every other thing. But when you see them when they write their assignments, etc., that would be awful. because you spend more time in dressing and other things, less time for writing, and naturally you do it in a hurry. So it need not be the case. It can be. It is possibility is there, but you cannot infer from this to every other behavior. So that way, biological factors, culture. Culture plays an important role. Everywhere you need to take into account the culture. Because the culture is the guideline for you. So you try to evaluate situations in terms of your cultural background, because that guides you as to how you need to behave in a particular way. Like when you go to attend a wedding, your close friend's wedding, you don't eat at home when you go, because you know that food will be provided, you are expected to take food there. When food is not given there, what happens? The wedding was very nice and the couple was very good pair and everything. But when you come out, you are unhappy. Why? Because they didn't even give a cup of coffee. What marriage is that? Why? Because according to your culture, you are supposed to do that. So that way, our culture guides us. The same way, when you go to a classroom and when you are casual without taking any notebook, you just go with bare hands, the teacher who looks at you will think that, well, he is not a serious student. Actually, you may be a more serious student than the other one who is taking down notes, because you prefer to listen to the teacher and record everything there rather than here. And the student who is recording every single word may be recording, but his mind may not be with the teacher. There is a possibility. But our culture says that if you are a student, when you go to the class, you must take a notebook. And there is a joke where in America, the Japanese was about to be photographed for driving license. And the fellow was sitting very serious, with a very serious face. And the photographer asked, why don't you smile? He said, driving is a serious business, I can't casually smile. Now, why should we laugh at that? There is a logic in it. Because if you ask him, he would say, the same carelessness you will be having while driving also, you better be serious now itself. So there is a point in that also, but we laugh at it because we are used to a culture where the moment you see a camera, even if you are sad, you try to smile. That is your culture. And you interpret behavior in terms, that is where when you try to understand the other person's behavior, you will have to see it in terms of his culture. You should not try to evaluate his behavior in terms of your culture. Then it becomes faulty. And that is where when a lady gets married, goes to the husband's place, for her everything is new. But for the husband's place, well, for them nothing is new. So when this lady does things differently, not in an inferior way, she does it differently because that was the way she was doing it at home, she was used to that at home. When she does it differently, sometimes the people at the husband's place make fun of her. Of course, it may be out of liberty or it may be to degrade her or whatever it is. The lady gets upset about that because everyone is new here, everything is new for me, I do not know how to go about it, so I do it as I am used to, I am prepared to learn. But you make fun of me, when you criticize me, I feel uncomfortable in your house. Why does it happen? Because the husband's place, they evaluate the wife's behavior in terms of their practices. Instead, they should try to see why she is doing that and how she has learned to do things in her place, etc. When you understand that, you will be able to appreciate all. And again, I say that is where spirituality gives you the flexibility. Because it makes you look at situations or things in a much broader perspective. When you have a broader perspective, you get many alternatives in a given situation. A life situation gives you various alternatives. When there are various alternatives, you will be able to choose a better alternative. Like in a class, a teacher was, in a primary school, the teacher was teaching mathematics addition in his class. And after completing the portion on addition, he asked the child, I give you an apple, I give you one more apple, I give you an apple. How many apples will you have? The child immediately counted and said 4 apples. Then the teacher thought that he had not understood the way he had explained, and again said, listen to me carefully. I am giving you an apple, I am giving you one more apple, I am giving you another apple. How many apples will you have? Again 4 apples. And the teacher didn't know about it. Then the idea struck to her. well, the child's favorite fruit is mango. Then she said, okay, forget apple. I give you a mango. I give you one more mango. I give you another mango. How many mangoes will you have? The child was happy. There was a smile on the face. He counted with his big fingers and said, 3 mangoes. So the teacher was happy. Well, I made him understand. Again, let's go back to apple. I give you an apple, one more apple. When you don't trust the child, you criticize him, you scold him, you everything. Spirituality gives you the trust. There should be a reason as to why the child is doing that. Then you ask him. Then you tell him, no, this is not the way to look at it. This is the way to look at it. This is the purpose of it. So you should forget the apple that you have here. Only addition is the important thing. You focus on the right thing, you correct the behavior of the individual. So that way, culture is another important factor that influences social behavior. Now, coming to the next aspect is everything said. That means there is no opportunity for socialization which can have an impact on hierarchies and self-understanding. So socialization is an important factor, and it is not that once in a week you have a timetable and say Saturday 6 to 8 you can socialize. No, it should be every day whenever possible there should be socialization. But the thing is, even the family members are strangers to you. Like there was a flood in Chennai once, and there was no power in the city for about 2 or 3 days. And there was a joke that was coming through the WhatsApp that, well, the power had gone out and the charge in my mobile phone also had gone down, and then there was no internet, nothing. So I went down to talk to my family. To be nice people. Why does it happen? Because every day you sit under the roof, but there is no interaction here. So you eat, you do things, you sleep formally, you interact for a short while and then keep going. And the TV is your priority rather than your own family members. You have very wrong priorities in our present day life situation. So that way, provide opportunities for the child to interact with the age mates and other people as much as possible that would contribute to the development of personality. Then the next one is reflected appraisal. So when you say reflected appraisal, for every one of your behavior, the other people will not explicitly tell you what it is, whether you are wrong or whether you are right, etc. Like when the class is going on here, well, every one of you will not say your class is good to stand up and say it is good or bad. From the expression on your face, I should be able to make a guess that, well, I am presenting it in such a way that people understand or that people don't understand. So it is an indirect form of communication. So that is what is called as a reflected appraisal. And for every one of your behavior, you get appraisal, but you should be sensitive to the non-verbal cues of the other persons. Because in any interaction, you interact, there are two communication. One is non-verbal, the other one is verbal. Verbal, where you explicitly state something, but non-verbal is the expression. And non-verbal cues reveal the inner reality of the individual. Like I give you an assignment today, and you put in a lot of effort, and in the whole of night you had searched for the information, you had prepared the assignment, you read it tomorrow, and you expect that, well, you have done very well and it's going to be appreciated. When I say that the whole thing is wrong, you redo the whole assignment. Well, first time you may say, yes sir, I will do it. You go back, and you try to do it, you improve. And again next day you bring in, and then you say, well, it's a useless work. The third day, and at some point you feel like hitting me on the face. Your word may say yes, but your true feeling may feel that I disagree with you. So that is where you must be sensitive to the non-verbal cues during the source of interaction. Because that reveals the inner reality of the individual. That's why the famous psychologist Freud said that, well, your lips may be silent, but the person chatters with the fingertips. Betrayal moves us through every pore of the body. That is, you try to control your lips, but your true feelings get revealed through the various pores of the body here, through non-verbal means. And it is in this context I wish to point out that research studies in psychology show that women use non-verbal cues more than men. And that is the reason why when men tell lies, women immediately they identify. Because from the non-verbal cues, they say, you are not telling the truth. Come on, tell me the truth. They are very skilled in that. The same way, women expect others also to use non-verbal cues more often, which the men are not good at. That is why always there is a problem. Because when the man, say for example, two people have got married and the honeymoon and all is over and they have come back, and let's assume that the wife remains at home and the husband goes to the office first day and comes back. So in the evening, the wife is waiting for the husband to come with so much eagerness, expecting that the fellow will come sit by my side and will ask me what I did right from morning 9 o'clock when he left till this particular moment. So there is so much expectation. When the fellow comes back in the evening, he casually walks in and then goes, changes his dress, washes, and then takes the newspaper and starts sipping the coffee. The lady is so upset. She waits with great patience for about a few seconds and then tries to give some indication. And he doesn't care. And she says, is there something important in the newspaper? Well, it is regular news. Then why do you give so much importance that I'm sitting here? Don't you see that a human being is sitting right in front of me? Yes, you are sitting there. Are you comfortable? And why are you angry? Well, immediately says, are you teasing me? And I'm sitting here and the inanimate object is important for you. And when he asks, why are you so angry? If you had slapped me on my face soon after coming, I would have been happier rather than this nonsense silence. So she's so upset here. And on the other hand, when the woman goes to the market and comes back, she would have gone there only for about 15 or 20 minutes and comes back. She has things to narrate for about half an hour. So you left home at about 9 o'clock, after that, well, I locked the room and I had my bath and then I came, I had my coffee. And when I was having my coffee, well, I didn't realize that I had not put the sugar at all. Only at the end I realized. And then I got the cup, I took it, I was not satisfied with the coffee at all. The man is irritated. Well, you would have made another coffee and you would have drunk, it's all over, why do you bother me? Then she says, I am not going to talk to you, you have no concern for me. Goes back and comes back in 2 seconds. And then she says, well, I went there, I was waiting for the auto for about 5 minutes, there was no auto. After 5 minutes, an auto came, I stopped, he did not stop. The second auto came, I stopped. I did not like his looks, and the third auto came, he said 80 rupees, I said 70 rupees, he said 65 rupees, I said 57 rupees. And then I went to the market, and then I went to the first shop, there was no potato there. The second shop, there was no tomato there. The man says, you got everything, don't bother me here. She's upset. Now, why does it happen here? And when you switch on the TV, the man wants to listen to the news. Well, the woman says, well, look at the dress is very nice, the necklace is so beautiful, the combination of the saree is very nice and all that. The man says, can you please keep quiet, allow me to listen to my news? Well, what the American president has, how does it bother you? Why should you worry about that? Why do you shout at me? Now, why does this happen? The woman acts from the feeling point of view. She feels so close to the other individual. She feels within inverted commas, feels so close to the other individual. I want to share everything with you. On the other hand, she expects the man also to share. But the logical man doesn't look at it from that point of view. So I went there, the first day he goes to the office and comes back, well, you are not talking to me anything. Well, there's nothing new, and what is there to talk? But the whole world stands still right from 9 to 6, no? It was routine. What is routine for you is new for me. How did you go to the bus, to the office? Were you standing in the bus or were you sitting in the bus? Were you sitting on the window side or the other side? How does it matter? And who is sitting in your next to you in the office? On the right side, you mentioned the name of the lady. Is she good looking? So, all those things. But still it is there. Things may change. Now, all women have not changed, all men have not changed. Change is occurring. But the thing is, still to a certain extent it is there. And it is not just Indian research I am saying, even Western culture research shows the same thing. So that way, and don't think that, well, when you adjust to that, you think that this is inferior. This is not inferior. Different way of interaction. It is not inferior in any way at all. And that is, I would say it is a positive quality, because that is why you are good in dealing with children and other people. Service orientation, you are better than men, because because you are more empathetic, you are able to relate based on feelings. And your relationship will be healthy if you relate based on feelings rather than logic. Why is there a problem between the husband and the wife? If your attitudes or if your ideas differ, you don't bother. When the other person rejects your feeling, you get upset. So you relate based on the feelings. And that is an important factor. So it is not inferior. I won't say that it is inferior. So there are different things. Only thing, if both of them learn the other side, also the relationship can be better. Rather than quarreling, what happens here is if there is a misunderstanding, there is a gap of information. So only when there is a misunderstanding, the communication should be increased. But what happens? We decrease the communication when there is a misunderstanding. So there is no quarrel now, but the misunderstanding remains for the rest of your life. So that way, we differ in the way of communication. So that is reflected appraisal. Then the next one is feedback. Reflected appraisal also is a type of feedback in the sense it is an indirect form of communication. Whereas when you say feedback, feedback is an explicit communicating. So we also get feedback, and feedback and criticism should not be equated. Psychologically, they are very different. In criticism, you mention the negative and you leave it at that. Don't even say what is expected. Whereas in a feedback, because in anything there can be a positive thing also. Only thing, you must learn to notice the positive. And if you are spiritually oriented, you will be readily noticing the positive. If they give you an activity right now, I ask you to take a paper, for example, and ask you to write about the negative qualities of a person, maybe your life partner, maybe your child, maybe your friend, somebody. And you are able to come out with a list of qualities. Then I say, well, write the positive qualities of a person. 2 or 3 you write, and then you'll have to squeeze your brain. Why is that? Because we focus more on the negative rather than the positive. Because the negative bothers us more than the positive. Like if a teacher lectures well here, you enjoy the lecture, you take down the points, etc. Whereas when another lecture is awful, you will be talking more about the awful lecture rather than the positive lecture. Because your time has been wasted, you are in some way affected because of that. Whereas when the lecture is good, that is what is expected. So when something is expected, if it happens in the way it is expected, you don't bother to notice that. That is why always the negative gets noticed immediately. For the positive to be noticed, you will have to continue with the positive for a long time. That's an important aspect here. For example, when you have observed an individual for a long time, you form an impression about the individual, and that impression remains for a longer time. So ultimately what happens is, for example, you have come here for the first time. You have not come here earlier. And then you have told your family members that, well, I'm going to do my PhD, I'm attending a classes, and I'm going to learn about spirituality or psychology or whatever. And all these years, you are a short-tempered person, you used to shout, get angry easily with your family members. And then after attending the classes and listening to all the spiritual discourses, etc., you realize that, well, this is a shortcoming in me, I should try to change, and you are taking efforts to change. So when you go home, you try to be tolerant and you don't get angry, and then you are tolerant. Then when your family members talk to you, well, they are worried. Is something wrong? Is your health okay? Are you okay? Did you have your food? Did you have enough rest? Because for them, that is your normal self, not this one. Then when you say, well, I'm okay, there's nothing wrong, etc., still they don't trust you. They try to avoid you, go into the room and sit together and say something has happened. They said that she's going to attend some lectures on psychology, so something has happened to her. Then what happens here? When you go back to your original self, getting angry, then they are satisfied. Yes, you are back to your original self. Then the positive change they are not willing to accept immediately. The negativity is noticed immediately. That is what it is. So what you should do is, doesn't mean that you must go to the negative and continue with the negative. Continue with the positive for a longer time until they are convinced. That is important. So never change to the negative here. You need not change to the negative when you develop a positive unnecessarily. So that way is feedback. Inner feedback What you do is initially point out the positive. Because any human being would like to hear positive things about her or himself. The outward expression may be different. One person may not show any expression at all, another person immediately may have a broad smile on the face, etc. But everyone will be happy to hear positive. But when I say positive things, positive that is actually there in the individual. That is the difference between a praise and a flattery. A praise is one where you actually point out the positive that is there in the individual. A flattery is something that is not there. Like, I may not have any schedule at all. I may be expecting when people at Mount Abu will be calling. But when I'm sitting in the meeting, well, I'm happy that Suresh has accepted our invitation despite his busy schedule. Suresh has no schedule at all. So when you say that, even I would not feel comfortable with you. I should be careful with this fellow because he is telling lies. So that will not have the desirable effect. So be realistic. And I would say, I'm repeating again, anything has a positive side. Always we say you should read only a good book, you should not read a bad book also. Only when you read a bad book also, you know the difference between a good book and a bad book. In that sense, there is a positive side to the bad book also. So that way, anything has a positive side. Only thing, we need to learn to notice the positive. Even in your bitter enemy, when you try to start noticing the positive, and in the long run, you will not have enemies at all. That's why when there is a spiritual development, well, you will not have enemies. You will not be able to see anyone with negative qualities at all. You become tolerant. You become acceptance of the negative qualities in the other person. So that is where feedback. So you notice the positive, point it out, the person becomes receptive to what you are saying, then point out the negative. This is an inadequacy. Like a student has written the examination, the handwriting is so beautiful, but not a single word is meaningful there. Rather than saying your paper is nonsense, tell them, such a nice, beautiful handwriting. I'm jealous of your handwriting. I'm unable to get such a nice handwriting. But if you learn something and write the answer properly, it will be better. Then the child will ask, well, how am I to do with this? How should I go about it? I'm unable to understand. Can you please tell me? Whereas when you start noticing that the whole thing is nonsense, what is it that you have written, and you scold him, he will try to run away from you because he feels uncomfortable with you. So then notice the negative. After noticing the negative, then mention what is expected to rectify the negative. Why you say it is negative and how it needs to be corrected. So in the examination system, if you do that, every student will be waiting for the test. You will not be running away from the test. Every student will be waiting for a test. Because, well, yes, I have improved, but I want to know how much I have improved. I would like to take the test. Now, again, there is a feedback. Well, this is what I should focus on. Next time, there will be further improvement. So I'm happy about the test. I would like to have a test every single day. That would be the attitude. So that way, feedback is so, we get feedback from other people. Then accordingly, and when you say feedback, not just on one day, one instant, everything here is over a period of time, consistency. From different people, from different sources, etc. Then environmental self-perception. Self-perception is how I perceive. For example, when I come for the lecture here, I organize and expect to present it in a particular way. If I do it in this way, it will be effective. I come with a plan. When it goes according to my expectation, there is interaction from people, and people expression on their face shows that they are satisfied. Well, I'm satisfied with my performance. And at that time, when I complete and come down, when some of you come and say your lectures are good, that will add to my feeling. On the other hand, on a particular day, I may feel that my lecture is awful, and when you come and say your lecture is wonderful, not even one person I will take. Because my perception today and your way of expression are very different, and as a result, it may not convince me. So every time when you perform, and that is an important aspect, and spirituality gives you the orientation which the other situation may not give you. Because in spirituality, you are more concerned about qualitative improvement in you. So irrespective of the superiority of your performance and appreciation from everybody, Still you would think that, well, you would recall as to what you did and how I can improve it further and how it can be made better, etc. So you will try to perceive, you will try to analyze, and you will try to see better ways of doing things, etc. That is how you look at yourself. Then environmental distinctiveness, in the sense how different you are from the majority. Like when I take part in a essay competition or music competition among 10 people and I get a first in a context among 200 people in my school, then that distinctiveness, if I come first in the state, that gives me still a better understanding of myself. So that way, the more and more distinctive and superior your performance is, the clearer your self-understanding would be. And in this context, I wish to point out that in a materialistic world, every parent wants his child to get the first prize. Sometimes the parent prepares it for the child, because you give importance only to the prize, not to your child here. The idea is that your child should develop the talent so that it will help him throughout his life. But our perception is that, well, it should be appreciated by everybody. That should not be the case. Like once when I was talking in a class of counseling students, I was mentioning about the role of the parent, the role of the teacher, etc. And one parent asked a question, "Sir, my daughter is going to take part in a competition next month. And in order to motivate her, I keep telling her that you are going to get the first prize. Am I right?" Because when you keep telling day in and day out that the child is going to get the first prize, the child will blindly believe that I am superior to everyone and then the first prize is meant for me. And even when he gets the second prize, the child will be highly disappointed because he is not prepared for that. On the other hand, motivate him. You are capable of getting the first prize. But there will be other equally competent competitors also. You practice qualitatively improve, but don't attach too much importance to the prize day. That is important. Attach importance to what you learn, how you improve, rather than the outside rewards. Whereas we pay attention or importance to the external rewards rather than internal, putting all our children to stress, etc. So that's an important thing. So environmental distinctiveness provides us information about ourselves. Comparison with others. When you say comparison with others, in a positive way, always when you compare somebody, see, your brother is studying well, you are not studying, your brother is doing well here, you are not doing that. You feed the child or the individual with negative information. So ultimately there would be an inferiority feeling, and when there is an inferiority feeling, it can lead to other inadequacies also, like jealousy toward the other person, etc. So that way, in comparison, I try to compare and get an objective understanding. Where am I among my classmates? I am at the 10th place in my classmates, but below me there are 20 people. So I am better, but still I need to improve. So it is only for self-improvement. There should be an objective way of comparison rather than thinking that we are motivating, we are demotivating our children that way. So that is another way. And social identity. So when you say social identity, the cultural background, and whether I am treated in the society, my cultural background is seen a superior one or inferior one, etc. So that way, these are the sources through which we gather information. If there are inadequacies in these sources, naturally my self-understanding will also be faulty in nature. Like if you see, Indian parents are always critical in nature. And in India, you never praise an individual for a positive thing. You criticize the individual immediately for the negative thing. For example, the common thing that I observe in our culture is the man never appreciates when the woman makes a good food. There will be no appreciation at all. There would not even be an expression. He would just eat, and the wife is waiting there for this feedback as to, because she wants, in a traditional system. Even now there may be people, but the number may be less. In those days, the main activity of the housewife was cooking. And for her, the world is only the family members. So, when she cooked, it was not that she cooked by putting in the ingredients. She put her heart and soul into it and prepared the food for them. She wanted the whole family to enjoy the food. That was the involvement that was there. And now I'm not trying to say that the present day women are inferior. The priorities are different. That's what it is. Not that you are inferior. That is not the case. The priorities differ now. So that way, what happens? He prepares the food, and then when she's there, she's waiting for some clue that the food is nice and they enjoy eating that. But there's no expression. Then she asks, "Is it okay?" Yes, it's okay. Okay means is something wrong? No, it's fine. Why don't you say that? Well, you are preparing me food thrice a day, and then throughout the year, should I say good every time? That means you are looking for appreciation. The man is irritated here. He doesn't understand the feeling here. Then later on, when she drinks a cup of coffee, she says, very nice. When she drinks a glass of water, very nice. As if she gets humiliated there. So that should not be, because the man misunderstands here. On the other hand, when there is a less of a salt here, immediately says there is no salt in this at all. So when there is negative, we point out. When there is positive, we should not. We are not doing that. That is the Indian culture. But we need to focus on the positive also, and we need to give a feedback on the positive also. Like when Abdul Kalam became the president, the first time when he met the press reporters in Hyderabad, he was narrating an incident. He was motivating them to report more of positive things that happen in the society rather than negative things. Because people get to know what happens around them only through the media. So when you report more of negative things, people will tend to believe that only negative things happen in the society. So I will say, for example, if there is an incident of sexual harassment in a place, for the next 1 week, all the TV channels show only sexual harassment in various places. That means we tend to believe that for the past 10 days or 15 days, sexual harassment has increased. No, that is not the case. They try to sensationalize it by focusing on that. That's all. So that way, he was quoting an example also, like when he went abroad and when he took the newspaper of that country, and the first page, the headline was that an old man had some good deed in his village. That was the headline. When he turned the pages on the fourth or the fifth page in a corner, there was a news item saying that a person had committed 3 murders. If it is in India, the murder will be on the front page, and the other one may not be reported at all. So we tend to believe that in the society everything happens, only negative things happen, and the antisocial activities have increased, etc., which may not be the case actually. So that is where what we focus on is an important factor, and spirituality makes an individual to focus on the positive rather than the negative. It is in that sense we need to provide the source of knowledge. Knowledge should be more positive rather than negative, so that our understanding of ourselves will be positive and our realization of ourselves will also be positive. So I think it is the time for the session is over. The rest we will continue. Thank you.
Anybody has any? We can continue for 10 to 15 minutes because we are waiting for the tea to come. So by the time the tea comes, we can. So you can have take some. Is it possible to take some questions? Okay. आपके किसी के कोई प्रश्न हो पूछ सकते हैं. जैसे लाइक ये सोशल साइकोलॉजी है, इसके रिलेटेड सर ने बताया कुछ टॉपिक हो या कुछ ऐसे आपके क्वेश्चंस हो. अगर आपको सोशल साइकोलॉजी में वर्क करना है तो टॉपिक वगैरह लेना है तो उसके बारे में भी पूछ सकते हैं या किसी तरह का कोई और क्वेश्चन.
Okay, then if there's no question, I will continue with the points here. So, yes, please. Pardon? I don't feel.
NEET examination, because of the NEET examination, all children are losing.
Well, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with the NEET examination. I won't say that. But the thing is, on the one side, it is made into a political issue. I'm not going into the details of that. The second one is I would blame to a certain extent the parents for it. That the parents attach undue importance. You should do only medicine. You should do only engineering, etc. And children are not willing to do that, and that puts a lot of pressure on them. Because it becomes a humiliating experience for the child. See, that child has cleared NEET and you have not cleared NEET at all. As a result, you are a good for nothing person. And all those things happen. That is the reason. See, when the plus 2 results are published, when you see the newspaper, the next day there is more news on suicide or attempted suicide. Now, why is that? Just because the child has failed in the plus 2, life is not going to come to a standstill. But why does it happen? Because right from day one, the parents and the whole society keeps telling that plus 2 is crucial for you, plus 2 is important. If you don't do well in plus 2, you are a good for nothing person. So that type of a feeling is created among the youngsters. And even after, at least after completing the examination, the parents can say, well, even if the mark is less, don't worry. No parent does that. And ultimately, when the result comes and when he sees that he has got a very mediocre grade, he feels that, well, my parents are going to be hostile to me. The whole society is going to look down upon me, and I don't have the courage to face that. So if you can provide social support in that, I think we can prevent it. But to a large extent, among the problems of the youngsters, to a large extent, I blame the parents. Not the school, not the government. I blame, to a large extent, I blame the parents.
Sir, I have one question. At the present time, we have seen that many students are neglecting their schools, their studies. So in such cases, it is natural that in the morning they used to see Pogo channels, etc., etc. And in the evening they also try to do the same things. So what should a parent do by treating their children rightly so?
See, the thing is, I won't say that children are neglecting their studies. The parents' expectation is very high. They think that the child should sit with the subjects throughout the day. So he must go to school and be in the classroom, come back and then sit with the homework and be there doing everything, and he should not miss even a single mark in the examination. So again, here it is the parents. Children learn. They do learn well if you allow them their discretion. Most there may be a small group of children who may be playful. Always there are exceptions, but majority of them, they are responsible enough. But only thing, we parents don't see them as responsible individuals. We see them as, even when your son or daughter gets married, even then you see your son only as a child. The fault is with the perception of the parents, not with them. If you give them the freedom, if you give them the discretion, they are responsible enough. So it is our anxiety that is causing the problem. Yeah, that's what it is. And of course, spirituality should help you in that, like draw the boundary, where the boundaries, allow the child to have his own discretion. Do that. Because with regard to self-knowledge, one example is I was mentioning yesterday. In those days, children were not sent for tuition unless that is really needed. Whereas today, tuition is needed. When you say that, when the child says that I don't need, I will learn on my own. Parents say, no, you cannot do it, you must go. Self-knowledge, you are providing a faulty knowledge to the child. You are incapable of learning on your own. You go. I do not know whether this is due to. When I do on my own, when I get feedback on my performance, then that strengthens my self-confidence. My self-knowledge actually will be accurate, that will get strengthened. But we are weakening. That is why many people are becoming psychologically vulnerable, because we don't provide such types of freedom and opportunities. That is what it is. Yeah.
So, what's the reason or the scientific behind this attitude of this man and women? Is it any biological factor or any environmental, or how can we explain that one? Just before you explain that attitude. Yeah.
There may be a little bit of biological factors. We don't have any information on that, but I would say that to a large extent it is cultural. Yeah, to a large extent it is cultural, because the traditional role of women in most societies was more of nurturing in nature. So that actually went into them, and that continues. And today we see many women. See, in those days there used to be quarrel between the husband and the wife, because The wife took care of taking care of the children, and the husband took care of disciplining the child. Doesn't mean that the man did not have affection for the child, because there was a division of roles. So if I try to control the child and disciplining him will be easy, I'll be able to control. So the child would abide by what the father was saying, and he would not abide by what the mother was saying, because the mother was treating it more with affection rather than a firm discipline. So the child took advantage of the mother. It was not wrong. So when the father punished the child was upset. It went to the mother consoled the child. So the emotional need of the child was taken care of. That was complementary in nature. But the father always blamed the mother, saying that you spoiled the child. That was there traditionally. Whereas now, if you see in many families, I see the opposite. The man is liberal with the child, the man allows the child to do anything, the mother is trying to control the child. The reason is that the mother is taking care of the child most of the time, the studies, everything. The father comes only late in the evening, leaves early in the morning. And then I have heard many fathers saying that, well, I'm there with the child only for a short while, I do not want to make him unhappy, so let her take the debit or the credit or whatever it is. And many parents today are afraid of controlling their children. That is a very wrong attitude. And why it happens is because I grew up in a village, a very remote village. In those days, the villagers were illiterates, and it was a small place, so every teacher knows every other villager. So when he admits his child in the school, he will go to the teacher, and then say, sir, I have admitted my child in your class, so-and-so is my child. Please leave the 2 eyes intact, you do whatever you want. He didn't mean that you torture my child, that was not the case. Well, I am not educated, I do not know how I should shape my child, whereas you are knowledgeable, so I give you the discretion to do anything to shape my child, I won't question you at all. That was the discretion the teacher had. So the teacher used all sorts of strategies like punishing, scolding, or cajoling, whatever it is. And when the child went home and showed his hand swollen because the teacher actually spanked him, then the first question the parents asked was, well, what did you do for your teacher to beat you? Because the teacher would not have punished you for nothing. Then the child would say, yes, I didn't do the homework. That's your fault. So probably your teacher was mild in punishing you. I'll tell him to punish you in a more severe way tomorrow. But the next day he will go to the teacher and apologize for what the child has done. I'll ask him to do the homework hereafter. But the hand is swollen, you better take care of that also. The affection comes now. So the child was not given an escape route from what he has to do. So the child had to learn, the child had to do the homework. There was no escape route at all. But today, what happens is, the moment the child says, my teacher scolded me, the parents are there next day in the school complaining about the teacher. There's no discretion for the teacher at all. I want my child to get the first rank, that is your job as a teacher, but you should not make my child unhappy at all. So ultimately, there's no discretion. Again, parents are irresponsible. Why does it happen? Probably, my way of interpretation is, in those days, parents were doing their role as a parent for the child. So, nurturing the child, providing all the, satisfying all the required social, emotional, and physical needs of the child, etc. So there was no guilt feeling. Whereas today, when both the parents are employed, they spend less time with the child. So ultimately, probably unconsciously, there is a guilt feeling. So anyone who makes my child unhappy, my guilt feeling gets triggered. As a result, no one should make my child unhappy. And unfortunately, that spoils the children's life. They don't see the long-term perspective. Again, if there is a spiritual orientation, you try to analyze why it happened and what the long-term consequences would be and what an appropriate action would be. They will join the teacher in guiding the child, and the child can be brought up in a very healthy way. So for which we must move away from the materialistic orientation, move to the spiritual orientation. So it is there in your hands to change not only India, to change the whole world. It's in your hands, and your research, I'm sure, will contribute in that direction. Yeah.
Sir, there is basically what we have felt is, the moment the child enters +1, +2, because of this academic pressure, child wants some excuses that in case if tomorrow he doesn't secure good marks, there should be another one to blame. Sometimes he will be blaming the school, sometimes he will be blaming the parents, sometimes he will be blaming the environment. And there are many other things. I think my question is, it is because of the adolescent age or there is something else in
It is not because of adolescent age. The reason is that the whole society looks down upon him. The whole blame is put on him. Actually, the cause for the situation is on the other side rather than the child as such. And as a result, when the whole world looks down upon me, naturally I will try to find an escape route and naturally I will blame the others. Also, there may be some logic in it. But the thing is, when the whole world is hostile, then I look at the world in a hostile manner, I try to blame the world. And usually, not necessarily with regard to studies, during adolescence, there is a tendency of adolescents to blame the adult world. It is quite natural, it is a universal phenomenon throughout the world. Because that is a stage when the adolescents start arguing with the parents, disobeying the parents, everything happens. The reason is, again, the parents don't change their perception. That is the fault here. Because the moment he enters into adolescent stage, he starts symptoms of growing. Like say, for example, the boy starts seeing that he has started developing mush. So I'm not a child anymore. I'm growing into adulthood. I'm not a child anymore. I can be independent. That type of a feeling comes in. Whereas parents continue to see him and treat him as a child. So ultimately what happens, he tries to spend more time with the friends outside. Because the friends actually respect him, gives importance to his views, consult him and all those things. He feels happy there. So spend more time there. And when he comes home, and the parents blame him, he starts quarreling with the parents. Immediately the parents say, friend circle has spoiled you. No, you are driving him to the friend circle. And if your son or daughter spends more time outside rather than inside, there is something wrong inside. You must find out what it is, try to provide it here. You can make your child stay for more time. But during adolescence, spending more time with the friends is a natural phenomenon because this is a time when there is a sexual maturity, so they are attracted toward the opposite sex, which cannot be shared with the parents or the adult world. Naturally, with their friend circle, they would feel comfortable. So that is a natural phenomenon. But parents are very much concerned about it. When the adolescent starts quarreling, they think that something is wrong with their adolescence. That is not the case. I give you an example of an incident that happened. Once I was invited for a management training program, and they requested me to address parents in the afternoon. And the topic that they gave me was like effective ways of handling adolescents. Then I asked them, because I didn't know what the reason was, so I asked them, why have you given the topic? What do you expect me to deliver under this? He said, sir, the reason is that in our place, it's a small place where most people are educated and there is a love affair and that creates a lot of problem, and then another one is studies, etc. So suicide is a main concern of the parents, so that is why I thought I would be doing. So, and I asked them, is the attendance to the program compulsory? They said no. Then, where is it organized? It was organized in a big auditorium which had a capacity of about 200 to 300 people. I asked them, that so many people come because you say voluntary, you say it is only parents, because what type of parents would come? Parents whose children are very young, they may not come because they have not faced it. And parents whose children have gone into adulthood, they have crossed it, they don't need it. Which means those people who would be attending the program are the ones who have adolescent son or daughter at home who is experiencing problems right now and who are worried about them. And I thought there may be about 20 or 30 people, but when I went there, when the hall was full, there were many people who were standing. Now, when you say here, when the topic is given to you, there are two ways of looking at it. One, you can say that what is wrong with adolescents or what adolescents should do. But that would be useless for the parents. Because when they are unable to control their adolescent, that is why they come to you to listen to your lecture. The other one is, as a parent, what you should do, because you are concerned about it. The adolescent is not concerned about it. You are concerned about it. That is why you have come to me. Then I should tell what you need to do rather than what they need to do. Now it is in that respect, if you see, When the child is in the childhood stage, he is obedient to you. Whatever you say, he so you enjoy that. But during adolescence, he has optimum maturity and he has optimum freedom, and as a result, he goes out. And you have taught him what is right, what is wrong over a period of time. So during the adolescent stage, he sees that the adult world preaches one and practices another. You say that you should not tell lies, but most of the time you practice only lies in your real life situation. He is unable to distinguish. He is very idealistic. That is why he is very critical of the adult world. So now the perception of the parent has to be changed. Like he is grown up and he is responsible enough. He can do things on his own. So allow him the freedom. Then ultimately things will improve. Consult him when something is done at home. Consult him. Give importance to his views. Also, when you do that, things can be. Treat him as a friend. Don't treat him as a slave. When it is done, then things can improve. Still, there will be differences. That's a different thing. But you can minimize the differences and unpleasantness. Yes. Yes, please.
Tamil
Sir, my question is a twofold question. One fold is, yes, I agree. A lot of parents have this attitude towards their children that they need to be more lenient because they have a little bit of time, only then they can do justice to it. So, as if I'm sitting there as a teacher, talking with that parent will definitely say, "Oh, my child is really very good. I don't know why it has happened right now. He's very good." And you, as a teacher, need to deal with it very differently, And that is what they say to us. So, what can we say to them? Is my first question. My second question is there a way that I can straight away deal with the child, telling them that this is how you need to be, this is how you need to be responsible. Yes, you're good in this, but you also need to be responsible in this. Can I forgo the connection of parent and straight away deal with them? This is my second question.
Well, dealing with the parents in the present day world is difficult because unfortunately the child is not the priority of the parents. When there is a PTA, parents don't attend at all. That's unfortunate. Every parent should attend the PTA, one. Number two, a long-term solution that I would suggest in this is somehow in the long run PTA should be made compulsory, number one. Number two, instead of pointing out a particular child's problem, try to discuss about the more prevalent problems among children, not necessarily just learning and examination, no. Other personality problems also, there are many problems in school. Maybe when you teachers do that with the parents, if you are unable to convince the parents, what I would suggest is have the PTA meeting, let both parents and teachers sit together, invite an expert and take a particular topic, say for example self-concept or self-esteem. If that is an issue, let the expert say its impact and then what is the role of the parent here and what is the role of the teacher here and how when they can work jointly work together in enhancing this, in enriching the quality of life of parents, so that way it can help. But making it compulsory, well, that's a difficult thing, but I won't say that it is impossible. That is one. Number two, dealing with the child. You can, but again, one teacher cannot deal with that. Because it should be a team effort. If all the teachers have the same goal, if you adopt the same approach, it is very easy. But when you do that, and after 1 year, a different teacher is going to be there, and that teacher is not going to practice whatever you do, may not help the child at all. So that way it is difficult, but nothing is impossible. Yeah. We need to. Okay, last question. Yes, please.
Sir, as CBSE and the education body, Indian education body, they are implementing national education policy, a new scheme, and which says that we have to develop their skills more than what they read, and we don't want them to be bookworms. So nowadays, what is happening that when activities, projects, internships, and these things are given to the students, parents are not really happy. And they want their child to be in the book, inside the book, and in the same world. So they are not realizing this thing that once the child is out, he is meeting the people, he is making himself to learn, maybe in terms of communication, maybe in terms of dealing with the problems and situation. But real life is teaching the child. This they are not able to understand. Now, how is your response to this? If I want to what is happening that way? Condescendingly, parents are shifting everything to the teacher's side, right? They want a teacher or an educator to hit the nail, but not to hurt the nail. So, you as an educator, how do you, I would like to understand that how will you deal with this?
See here, the whole school system should focus on dealing with the issue, not one particular teacher. That's where I said, well, PTA can help. Then number two, it's a new education policy you said, that's where their mindset has been very different, where their child actually read from the book, reproduced, and then got the marks all these years. Whereas now when the change comes, probably they think that their child will be at a disadvantage. Actually, the child may be at an advantage, he may be happy to have the freedom to learn. And when they start seeing the results, well, they will accept. Initially, when you bring in the change, always there will be resistance. So that way, that should not be a problem. But to deal with the thing, as a student of psychology, my suggestion is when a child is growing during the formative years, one of the parents should remain at home. So that is the ultimate solution. The parent should remain at home. Number two is the parent should try to spend quality time with the child every day. When you say quality child, it is not according to your convenience. When the child needs you, you should be there. Like when the child has got very good marks, he has done well in the test today, he would be bubbling with energy, he would be happy to come and chat with the parent, but the parents are not there at that time. And when the parents come and they want to share, the mother says, well, you wait, I'll come and listen to you later. The father says, I have some other work. The child's motivation is dampened here. Later on, when you are ready to listen to him, he says, well, no, nothing. It goes like that. So quality time, you can't have a timetable and say 6 and 7 is quality time. Quality time is when I need you. That is what it is. So that parent should become aware of that and make child the priority rather than the TV or any such thing. Unless a change of lifestyle change comes, it will not. And again, I put the responsibility on you people. Such lifestyle change will come because people have started realizing the problems now, but they do not know how to go about it. So in the long run, certainly the change will come and definitely there will be. In the meantime, we will be undergoing all the sufferings. Yes, it's part of life. Yes. Right. Thank you, friends. See you.
Thank you so much, sir. अभी 15 मिनट के लिए आपका टी ब्रेक है. आपके लिए यहाँ ही चाय मंगा दी. पहले सोचा था कि आपने वहाँ जाना